profoundly disappointing. That was Indiana Republican Governor Mike Pence's reaction to today's ruling. Now, keep in mind, the governor is one of those guys. I mean, senators could talk all they want about this, but governors have to deal with this directly in an executive fashion in their states. What changes for you, Governor? Anything?
Well, really, I am profoundly disappointed. We had a real opportunity here to start over on health care reform at the national level, and the Supreme Court instead decided to exercise judicial activism and essentially rewrite a law that, as you know, Neil, I was there during the debates over Obamacare, strenuously opposed it, and just have no doubt in my mind that the provision that the court expanded now was designed to require states like Indiana to set up an exchange, knowing full well that these exchanges would fail. No, I made a decision. The first decision I made after I was elected governor was that we would not establish a state-based exchange.
This law, or this decree, I should say, from the Supreme Court was that we have to do something for folks in Indiana and 33 other states where they don't have these exchanges so that they don't get walloped. And I think that this really came down to just the pain in the neck factor, Governor, that the justice said, you know, if we rule the way the governor wants, the way others want, you know, everything turns upside down. I know this is a stupid reason. I think it is a stupid reason. They couldn't be bothered.
Well, look, I don't, you know, we've read the opinions, and there'll be a lot of debate over the reasons why, you know, but at the end of the day, the issue here is not just about the subsidies. I mean, one of the reasons that I made a decision not to set up a state-based exchange is because this very question was open legally. I mean, I actually observed more than 2 years ago that if states didn't set up a state exchange, that the business mandates and the individual mandates might well not apply. And I didn't want to impose higher taxes and mandates on Hoosiers simply by virtue of setting up a state exchange.
A lot of good it did you, right?
Well, the court had an opportunity here. I have every confidence that we would have found our way forward had the court ruled in favor of the plaintiff in this case. But they had a real opportunity.
That didn't happen, so it's here to stay.
They had a real opportunity to lift the individual mandates and the business mandates, and it failed. What happens now? Well, what happens now is this now goes to the American people. I know that the president said that Obamacare is here to stay, but look, Obamacare is a bad idea, poorly implemented, and the American people know it. And now, over the next year and a half, I expect we're going to have a vigorous debate.
But are you troubled that not as many are you troubled not as many people know it? There's still a majority, a slight majority, who are concerned about it, but not as much. So I'm beginning to wonder whether the anger is easing a little bit. Now, you're quite right. Some of the more onerous provisions and taxes and fees kick in outward years. And I might point out after the 2016 election, but they're not feeling as wrathful as they were. Does that worry on the simple political level and your desire to see this thing torpedoed?
The fundamental flaw with Obamacare is that it orders the American people to buy health insurance whether they want it or need it or not, and taxes and penalizes people that fail to do that. That's not how we lower the cost of health care in America. The way we do that, the way we're frankly in the leading edge of this in Medicaid reform here in Indiana, as you know, is through consumer-driven health care. Empower individuals with market-based solutions, consumer choice, patient-centered health care. That's the approach the American people know that's grounded on recognizing their personal freedom, not through government mandates out of Washington, D.C. And that's the debate we're going to have in the next year and a half. And I believe we're going to elect new national leadership in the White House and re-elect Republican majorities in the Congress so we can repeal Obamacare, lock, stock, and barrel, and start over with the kind of health care reform that really empowers individuals and is built on personal responsibility and consumer choice.
Well, you hope. But, I mean, it's not just a health care issue, right? The Environmental Protection Agency has been running roughshod. A lot of governors like yourself and Republican senators concerned that they're just, you know, zooming you left and right and throwing rules and regulations on emissions, et cetera, that are going to kill you.
State-based reform, state-based innovation is a key to restoring the full prosperity of this nation. I mean, we let the administration know yesterday that these new clean power plans that they're requiring that would require drastic reductions in carbon dioxide emissions are simply unacceptable, and if they're not fundamentally changed, that Indiana will not comply with the new EPA rules when they come out later this summer. But look, whether it's Obamacare, whether it's the excessive regulations of the EPA, the American people know that the cure for what ails this country is going to come more from our nation's state capitals than it ever will from our nation's capital. Unfortunately, the Supreme Court's decision today goes in the opposite direction, more federal solutions. And I think that's really going to be the crux of a national debate in the next year and a half. And I do believe the American people are going to choose more freedom, more flexibility, and we're going to get Obamacare repealed.
All right, Governor, thank you very much. Good talking to you again.
You too, Neil.